Welcome to Waidsum Academy. Today we'll be looking at greenhouse gases and global warming. And then the next one we look at limestones. Okay. Now let's first of all, what are greenhouse gases? What are greenhouse gases? Normally we always say carbon dioxide and methane. They are greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide and methane, CO2 and CH4. They are greenhouse gases. They are greenhouse gases. Now let's take a look at what these gases are. Carbon dioxide and methane, they are both greenhouse gases, like we said, and that means that they absorb heat in the atmosphere. Why we call them greenhouse gases? Because they absorb heat in the atmosphere. Absorb heat. They absorb heat in the atmosphere. So they absorb heat. Okay, this is why they are greenhouse gases. They are capable of absorbing. They are capable of absorbing heat in the atmosphere. They are capable of absorbing heat in the atmosphere. Okay? They are capable of absorbing heat in the atmosphere. This is why we say they are greenhouse gases. They are able to absorb heat in the atmosphere. And also, not only limited to that, absorbing heat in the atmosphere, they also prevent heat from escaping into the space. So the heat that is supposed to escape, this heat that is supposed to escape into the outer space, the carbon dioxide in our atmosphere will prevent the heat. They absorb heat and they prevent the one that is supposed to escape. You know, for example, the sunlight ray, the sun rays comes to the earth, right? And then when they hit the earth, some of them they bounce off. When they hit the earth, they bounce off, they want to escape. If you look at this arrow, these are the rays of the light, sunlight. Okay, when they reach the earth, if you look at it from here, when the sun rays reach the earth, they bounce off like they reflected. They reflected, like in reflection, you study. The earth will be like a mirror now, or a surface, a play surface. So when the rays of light hit the surface of the earth, they reflected. Now the problem, the danger with why we call them the greenhouse gas is what we are telling. The danger with the greenhouse gas is that instead of letting the rays of light to go back to the outer space, to escape to the outer space, no, they won't let it happen. These gases, look at them here, CO2 and CH4 in our atmosphere. What they do is that they trap it, they stop it and bring it back to the earth. They trap it, they take it, they absorb it, and they bring it back to the earth, thereby making the earth very hot. Making the earth very hot, causing climate change, making the earth to change from the normal climate that it was. Are we together? So what they do, these gases, the danger they have, like CO2, they are in the atmosphere, right? They are in our atmosphere, somewhere around the earth. So they trap the rays of light, the heat that we are escaping. You know, the light rays, when they hit the earth as they play surface, they're trying to escape. They're trying to escape. Just like this. You see the ray of light? It hits the earth. It's reflected. It's reflected. As it's being reflected, it hits the gas. This greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. So this gas absorb them and send them back to the earth. Send them. You see, if you look here, there's another small tiny arrow that is going down. It's sending them back to the earth. So when this heat is returned back to the earth, it makes the earth to be super warm and super not nice, and changing the climate of the earth. If the climate was supposed to be, for example, the temperature is supposed to be 20, it starts to increase. Temperature starts to increase because heat has been retained. The gas has trapped the heat that hit the earth that was supposed to reflect from the earth to the outer space. The gas in the atmosphere traps the escaping heat. It traps the escaping heat. You look at, these are the escaping. If you look at the arrow, this one is leaving the earth. It traps the escaping heat and returning back to the atmosphere, returning back to the earth, returning back to the earth. So when that happens, the earth becomes warmer than it should be. The earth becomes what? Warmer than it should be. So such gas that have that capability and ability to trap escaping heat from the earth, that were supposed to go to the space and trap them and reflect them back to the earth, such gases with that capability are called the greenhouse gases. They are called the greenhouse gases. Now, if you take a look at this diagram of the greenhouse gases, you can see the sun evidently shining and sending its rays of light and heat to the earth. Now, the sun's rays enter the earth's atmosphere. Okay, you see, enters the earth's atmosphere. And then here what you see is some of the emitted heat passes through the atmosphere into the space. Only some of them. Normally, all of them were supposed to escape into the atmosphere. But only some of them were able to escape into the outer space. But majority of them have been trapped by the CO2 gases and the methane gases that are in our atmosphere. So some heat is absorbed by this carbon dioxide. That's a greenhouse gas. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. So some of the heat has been absorbed by the carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas, and the heat is re-emitted in all directions, and some becomes trapped within the Earth's atmosphere. So it's re-emitted. Instead of going up into the outer space, it's re-emitted back to the Earth. Is what? Re-emitted back to the Earth. So the heat is now retained within the Earth's crust or within the Earth's atmosphere, thereby causing the air around us to be warmer, and the Earth will be warmer, and causing what we call the global warming. And why is it a global warming? Because it's not a local phenomenon. It's on the globe. Everywhere on Earth is experiencing this warming and this heat that has been absorbed by the carbon dioxide and the methane gases that were supposed to let the heat escape, but they trap them and retain the heat back to the Earth's atmosphere. Okay? So the Earth becomes hotter as a result of this. The Earth we're living in is getting hotter and hotter every day. And this activity of having the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, we talked about it in our previous video, in our previous class. We said human activity contributes mostly to the reason why we have a lot of carbon dioxide and CH4 gases in our atmosphere. And we say one of those big things is burning, combustion, burning of hydrocarbon, burning of fossil fuel. All of this releases a lot of CO2 to the atmosphere. We mentioned this, okay? And then we say respiration by animals and by plants and by bacteria also releases a lot of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So this retained carbon dioxide in the atmosphere does more harm than good to us. Okay, this retained carbon dioxide does more harm. How? Because it traps the energy or the heat energy that is coming from the sun that hits the Earth's surface that is supposed to escape. It traps it and brings it back into the Earth and make the Earth to be warmer. Now, energy is absorbed by the Earth's surface and re-emitted at longer wavelengths, such as the infrared radiation. So infrared radiation is superheat. So it's brought back as infrared radiation, which is superheat within our Earth crust. Okay, so that's the phenomenon we've described. We say the sun emits energy in the form of radiation that enters the Earth's atmosphere. So these energy are radiations. The sun emits energy in form of radiation, and this radiation comes to our Earth surface, our atmosphere. So some of this thermal energy is reflected from the Earth's surface. Like we have already said, when this heat energy hit the Earth's surface, some of them are reflected. Only a few of them eventually find their way to the space, to the outer space. Majority of them are absorbed by the CO2, the greenhouse gases. Majority of them are absorbed by the greenhouse gases, and they be sent to the Earth. And when this phenomenon spread around the Earth, they warm the entire Earth and thereby cause what we call a global warming. Caused what we call a global warming. Okay? Okay. Now the heat energies through the atmosphere, where some thermal energy passes straight through, is emitted into the space. Only few of them is emitted into the space, and majority of them is brought back. And this keeps the Earth to be warm, and this process is known as the greenhouse effect. The whole process is called the greenhouse effect. Is that okay? So that's about the greenhouse gases. We already know them. So if you ask in the exam to measure two greenhouse gases, one is CO2 and the other one is CH4. These are the most notorious greenhouse gases on the Earth crust. Probably we have SO2, but these are the most notorious ones that are in abundance in our Earth's atmosphere, and they're very often capable of trapping a lot of heat energy that's supposed to escape into the outer space and bringing them back into our Earth's surface, and thereby warming the Earth and making the Earth almost gradually becoming unbearable in most parts of the world. Now, human activities, like we said, have caused all of this, and we have to reduce our deforestation, we have to reduce our pollution level, we have to reduce our the activities that we're doing that we think, like the development. You know, most of the development trajectory cannot stop. We need to build more cities. The more you build cities, the more you develop, the more you cause greenhouse gases. The more you develop, the more you extract petroleum product, the more you go on coal, you extract coal, you drill oil and natural gas, the more you process all these gases, the more you use petrol to drive your cars and develop more cars. Unless we are going to green energy, then we'll be reducing this problem. Okay? If we start going into green energy, we'll be able to reduce this problem, the green energy. We start using sunlight energy. So the heat energy from the sun, we don't even let it to heat the sun. We build the solar farms. We build solar farms so that the heat, as it's coming, most of the heat will be trapped by the solar panel and will be used to process electricity for the earth instead of being absorbed by CO2. So one way to improve the sustainability and improve the earth atmosphere is to go on green energy. Green energy means using the sunlight energy and the wind to create what we call the electricity instead of using the fossil fuel, because fossil fuel releases a lot of carbon dioxide and CH4 into our atmosphere, the Earth's atmosphere. Now let's talk about the global warming. We talked about the greenhouse gases. Let's talk about the global warming. Now we said that if you look, we've had let's say somewhere in 1880, the percentage of the greenhouse gases or global warming we had was around 30.8%. In 1880, percentage of pollution of the greenhouse gases in our atmosphere was roughly around, let's say, the year 1880. In the year 1880, we only had 30% of the pollution of the greenhouse gases in the Earth crust. We only had 30% or 30.8%, okay, of this pollution. 30.8%. So even if, as at that time, in 1880, we have greenhouse gas, but this was in a lesser percentage compared to what we have today. Now let's take a look at the result as at 2020. As at 2020, the percentage has jumped to, okay, the concentration, okay, I'll talk in terms of estimated percentage of the global, of the gas. In terms of temperature, it was 30%. And as at year 2000, many of you were, year 2000, some of you were born. Okay, I think many of you were born in the year 2000. As at year 2000, the number has jumped to increased the temperature of the earth by more than 40.something%. Has increased the temperature of the earth by more than 40.6%. Has increased the temperature of the earth by more than 40.6%. So you can see there is a jump in the warmness in terms of percentage. In the earth being hot, there is super increase between this 1.5 century or 1 century 20 years. That's 120 years that have passed. Within 120 years that have passed, within 120 years that have passed, we have increased the percentage of carbon dioxide concentration on Earth. Because in terms of concentration, as at this year, we had only somewhere around, let's say, for example, somewhere around less than 300, let's say 280 concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was around 280 million. Was around 280 million. The percentage concentration of carbon dioxide around this year was 280 million. But around year 2000, the percentage has reached 380 million. So it has jumped with over 100 million production of CO2 into the atmosphere that were not used. Okay, about 100 million increase. Okay, from 280 million to about 380 million. Now we are in 2024. Obviously, 24 years has passed since year 2000. Another 24 years has passed. And the percentage, from year 2000 to today, the increase it has way surpassed, in terms of percentage, has way surpassed 17%. Has way surpassed 17%, okay, of the concentration of how the temperature has increased. In terms of percentage, the heat, the hotness of the earth has increased beyond your imagination. The hotness of the earth, and in terms of concentration, in million, is more than 500 million as of today. It's more than 500 million because there was massive development between the year 2000 and 2024 by many countries. Countries like China, they engaged or embarked on so many industrial revolution, so many industrial development, and many other countries. Okay, not only China, many other countries, they went into massive development. Malaysia, all the third world nations started, many of them started growing very rapidly. African countries, some of them started growing, like Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Senegal. Many of these countries started growing rapidly and started exploiting all these greenhouse gases in a higher percentage. And even in the Middle East, many of them started also growing very rapidly. So all of this has tremendously increased the number of pollution in the earth. Now let's talk about the climate change. Now climate change is the resultant effect of the activities of man. The climate, the earth used to be warmer, used to be colder than this. The earth used to be colder than this. Air temperature affects the rainfall. The air temperature affects the amount of rain that will fall in a country, and the cloud cover and wind pattern. All of this, they all are affected by air temperature. So as the average temperature rises, the climate around the world change also. As the average temperature rises, before now, let's say like 100 years ago, during the summer, maybe the temperature in some country can only reach like 30. And during the winter, it goes way below less than 10. Those countries that used to go below less than 10 in winter, now they are around 20, even in the winter. And in summer, they are 35 or 40 in the summer. So as the temperature is rising, the climate of the earth also is changing. So when we say climate change, we are saying the effect brought by the temperature in our environment. And this temperature change is brought by the greenhouse gases that traps a lot of heat back to the earth, thereby making the earth to be hotter. Okay? Some places with quite a lot of rain will become very dry, and awful places will get much water. So as the earth climate changes, places that used to get a lot of rain will become drier, and then there will be the amount of rainfall will be lesser. Then if you go to the Antarctica, the icy country, the Arctic and the Antarctica countries, the countries with the ice are gradually melting. The ice are melting due to the rising temperature. When you go to very extreme, like the Greenland, there's a place they call the Greenland. These are extremely frozen countries where you'll be walking on top. You can even drive on top of ice. The water is frozen. You can move on top of it. But now most of this water, they are melting. They are melting, so because Earth's climate is changing. The storm, flood, and wildfires will become more frequent because of the effect of climate change. There will be more storm in some places. There will be a lot of flood, like we are already experiencing in many countries. There will be a lot of flood, and there will be a lot of wildfire, like the one you see in the United States, the one you see in Australia. A lot of wildfire will be happening in some places as a result of climate change. Okay. Then another thing that will happen as a result of the climate change is the species that cannot adapt to the changing climate will die. Any species that cannot adapt will die. Okay, that's another resultant effect of climate change. Then another one is more drought will happen more frequently and more likely. There will be more drought. So we can itemize all of this. We can itemize the flood, storm. Okay, we can itemize the flood, drought. These are effects of climate change. Drought, storm, like wildfire, okay, like bushfire, storms, all of this, flood, all of this will happen more as a result of climate change. So what can we do? What can we do? Because if we leave the earth like this continuously, we're going to have problems. The future generation will have a lot of problems to deal with. Okay, so what can we do in order to resolve all these problems? Because if global warming is a natural change, we can do nothing to stop it. But it's not a natural change. Okay, we have a hand in it. We humans, we have hand in it. So we are actually, our activities of releasing a lot of the greenhouse gases is largely responsible for the climate change. So many people are trying to cut back on using fossil fuel. That's why we start building electric cars, so that we stop using fossil fuel. Okay, so these are things we can do. We have to reduce the use of fossil fuel. We have to find a way to reduce the fossil fuel, non-renewable energy. We should develop our renewable energy system, okay, and gradually move away from the non-renewable energy system. Is that okay? That's one thing we can do. Then many countries have set targets for switching to clean ways to get electricity. Many countries are already setting target on how they will switch from the fossil fuel for getting electricity, which is called the non-renewable energy resource, to getting a clean energy, what we call the green energy. They're switching from non-renewable to renewable energy resource. Is that okay? So scientists are also looking at ways to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What can we do to take out the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by research? So all of this, ability to take out the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is very important. Ability to take out the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is very important. So scientists should come up with a technology to be able to sweep and clean the atmosphere around us. A technology that can trap the carbon dioxide itself and make use of it to produce something else. So we should find a way to use this carbon dioxide that is in abundance in our atmosphere to manufacture something that will be useful. So we should build new technology or new industries that can harness this resource. This carbon dioxide that looks like a danger now, we should see it as a potential opportunity to create new business, new company, new business. Such a way that this carbon dioxide that is in abundance in our atmosphere will be a raw material to manufacture something that will be beneficial to the rest of the world. So if we can come up with a technology to use carbon dioxide in the Earth atmosphere to manufacture a product or a byproduct that will be beneficial to the Earth, then we will be like headed towards solving the problem of the climate change. So that's that for today's class.